POV Italian Cooking, where you see cooking from my point of view. Today, we're making something for those chocolate lovers out there. We're making a Vin Santo glazed Weight Watcher cake. Now, the Weight Watcher cake, I found this recipe online and I've been tinkering with it. So this recipe was 6 points plus on the Weight Watcher scale. I don't know how that thing works. But that was with real sugar and real brown sugar. I replaced the sugar with stevia, and I replaced the brown sugar with this stevia brown sugar substitute. So I have no idea how many points is in this, but I know it's less than 6. Now the glaze we're going to put on it is it's going to be a chocolate Vin Santo glaze. Now if you watched one of our earlier episodes, you saw I used Vin Santo wine to make this wine cake. It's an Italian dessert wine, but I think it's going to pair real well with the bittersweet and the glaze. But anyway, you heard me yak enough. Let's get to it. Let's start by taking a look at our ingredients. We are going to use 1 3/4 cups of flour, 3/4 cups of this brown sugar substitute. Now if you're going to use regular brown sugar, you're going to only use 1 1/4 cups. We're going to use a 1/2 cup of stevia sugar substitute. We are going to use 3/4 cups of cocoa. We're going to use 1 1/2 teaspoons of both baking powder and baking soda. We're going to use about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, about 1 1/4 cups of fat-free milk, 3 egg whites, and 2 tablespoons of melted butter, 1 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1 cup of boiling water. We got our oven preheating to 350 degrees. So what we're going to do first is we're going to mix all of our dry ingredients together. So I'm going to kind of break away for just a second, move all this stuff to one side. We're back. We want 1 3/4 cups of flour. Again, we're putting all of our dry ingredients together. We're going to sift them. Now we want 3/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa. And we want 1/2 cup of our sugar substitute here. For our brown sugar substitute, we are going to use 3/4 cup. And we're just going to kind of whisk these together, just kind of make sure everything gets spread throughout. All right, I am going to break away, get all these dry ingredients out of the way, and get our wet ingredients together. Now we'll start on our wet ingredients. Now I do have in this bowl here 3 egg white. We are going to add 1 1/4 cup of fat-free milk. Then we have 1 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. I love vanilla. We're probably going to go 2. Look at that. Oh look, darn, we put 2 in there. 2 tablespoons of butter melted. I used regular butter. You don't use unsalted butter in a baking recipe unless it calls for it. Let's go to my KitchenAid. We'll put on our paddle here. Our dry ingredients go in. Just pour them right into our mixing bowl. Going to pour our wet ingredients right over them. Lock her in. And now what we're going to do is just on the lowest settings, we are just going to let that get incorporated. Okay, and we're back. If you remember right, from the beginning we were talking about the ingredients, and one of the ingredients was 1 cup of boiling water. So that just goes down in there, and just let that mix until it's smooth. If you can see down in there, it looks really smooth. Our batter is ready, but first we need to make sure that our bundt cake doesn't stick to our pan, so we are going to apply a liberal amount of non-stick cooking spray all over our pan. Let's just pour our happy batter in here, like so. This is going to go in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. You know, we were all kids at some point, and we all used to fight to lick the pan. I'm sure you'd say, "Mom, man." Well, nobody's here saying that to me, so that means I get to lick the pan once we get it done. This goes in the oven, 350, 25 to 30 minutes. It has been 25 minutes. Let's pull our cake out. I can tell without even looking at it. Without putting a toothpick in it, it's probably going to need a couple more minutes. What you do is you just put a toothpick down in it, pull it back up, and you can see that it's covered in brown, which means it's not ready yet. We're going to give it 5 more minutes because, as you can see, this is completely coated. Oven off, cake out. We are going to take this wonderful cake, put it on the cooling rack. This has to be completely cool before we can put our glaze on it. So I'm going to leave this sit about an hour or so. Okay, now it is the moment of truth. We're going to see if we can get this cake out of this bundt pan. So what I'm going to do, we're going to take our glass pan. So what we're going to do is just try to flip it, and hopefully the bundt will come right out, and it did. I'm actually probably going to flip it back over so it'll sit nice and flat on this plate. Okay, before we start making our glaze, what we want to do is poke a bunch of holes in our cake, because what we want to happen is we want our glaze to kind of soak down in here. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking a couple toothpicks and we're poking holes in the top. And I'm going to do the same down in the middle, because whatever glaze is left over, we're just going to pour it right down the middle of this bad boy. Okay, let's talk about the ingredients in our glaze. This is so simple. We're going to start with 1 cup of heavy cream. We're going to bring that up to a simmer so as not to burn it. Then we're going to add our chocolate. We have 8 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. Once that really starts to melt really well, then we're going to add 1/4 of a cup of confectionery sugar. And then about 1/4 of a cup of Vinsanto wine. Again, Vinsanto wine, very sweet. So let's get started. Alright, so let's get started on our glaze. We're going to bring 1 cup of heavy cream to a low simmer. You got to heat this stuff slow, because you do not want it to burn. So as that comes up to heat, we'll be right back. Heavy cream is just almost to a simmer, so we are going to add our chocolate, and we're just going to keep stirring real slow. But this is 8 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. We want this to get melted and smooth. While this is melting, I'm going to go ahead and put in our confectionery sugar. This is 1/4 cup of confectionery sugar. Now we're starting to get everything incorporated together. You can see our chocolate's breaking down. It is time to add the star of this glaze, which is the Vinsanto. We're going to add 1/4 cup of the Vinsanto. Woo! You can smell the Vinsanto coming up out of this. This chocolate and the Vinsanto coming together. Just going to keep stirring away. Look how it came together all at once for us. Nice, nice, nice. All right, I'm going to pause real quick and go over to this to our cake. So we have our glaze. As you can see, everything is incorporated. We have our cake. I poked some more holes in it. We're just going to kind of just drizzle it all over this wonderful cake. And don't worry about using too much, because with chocolate and Vinsanto, there's no such thing as too much. Those are wordy dirds, and we won't repeat those. We're going to put a whole bunch down here in the middle. Look at that. We're just almost going to fill it up in the middle. Now this will cool almost completely, and then we're going to cut this bad boy. So we're going to take a couple hours, and we will be back. Yummy, this stuff's good. Because of no bra weekends, I'm doing this by myself. She's standing behind the camera, saluting me with a single finger. So let's give this a shot. Oh man, that Vinsanto and the chocolate pair so well together that this should be illegal. The cake, again, has no sugar in it. It has a sugar substitute, a brown sugar substitute. It's if I would have made it per the recipe, it would have been 6 points on their points plus, making it with sugar and brown sugar. We didn't. I don't know how many points this is. We'll call it 5 because of the glaze. But a good vanilla bean gelato with this would be incredible, because that glaze is so rich, the cake is moist.
It's good.
So, again, thank you for watching POV Italian Cooking. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Most importantly, click that subscribe button on YouTube. Again, thanks for watching very much. I really appreciate it. And ciao.